Hello, this is Sandy with a little bit of glitter, and today I've got a card with you that reminds me so much of the road trips we used to take when our boys were little. Go ahead and hit subscribe if you'd like to be notified of future videos. You can follow me on Instagram at Sandy Cogdill or on my blog, A Little Bit of Glitter. Let's get started. We're going to start out with coloring today. The stamp set I'm using is Car Critters from Lawn Fawn, along with the Car Critters Road Trip add-on. I'm using Express It blending card. That's just the blending card that I have used for forever. It has worked really well for me. It's a little bit pricey, but that's what I've used and that's what works. So I am starting out with the car. The colors that I'm using are BG23, BG45, and BG49. I will use those same colors for the latch on the little suitcase on top of the car, along with the seat and the handlebars on the bike. For the tires on the car and the bike and the bumper, I'm using C2, C4, and C5. The headlights and the sleeping bag are YR14 and YR18. The little suitcase is E13 and E99. The bike frame, the license plate, and the little rack that's holding everything is YR14 and YR18. The little bears are E31, E97, and E99. For the background, I'm going to be blending picked raspberry, ripe persimmon, and mustard seed. I don't have to go all the way down the card. In fact, I don't even go about halfway down the card. And as I'm working on it, I'm using the die to kind of guide where I want my colors to begin and where I want them to end. I want the yellow to be mostly down at the bottom of the canyon. You'll see that I'm kind of using my die to kind of gauge where I want those colors to fall. Once I get those colors blended like I want them, I will spritz that with some water and then kind of dab it with some paper towel. That just kind of gives that background a nice little variation. I had a couple of different shades of rust cardstock, so I cut them both out and then needed to decide which one looked better with my backdrop. And it turned out the darker one really made those colors pop, so that's what I decided to go with. I'm using a little bit of Distress Oxide ink, Vintage Photo is the color, on the edges of the little mountains, just to give them a little bit of definition, kind of soften those edges. I also will go around the little hillsides that are cut out at the bottom. I'll put a piece of Post-it note paper in between those edges. I also go down those mountains kind of in the center of them, also to give them just a little bit of contour, just to give them a little bit more interest. You can barely see the ink on the paper, but it's just enough for the eye to pick up and just soften that cardstock just the tiniest bit. It makes the smallest amount of difference, but it can be seen. I pretty much do that on almost everything that I die cut. Oh my gosh, that is just so pretty. Okay, I'm going to use some liquid glue to adhere that backdrop to my ink blended piece of paper now. I've cut out a frame using peacock cardstock. I think that's really going to make my car pop. I'm also using the open road border die, and I'm going to cut out a road using storm cloud cardstock. My road is going to be just a little bit longer than where the horizon is, so I'm going to put a little bit of temporary adhesive on the back of that road just so I can kind of tack it down and measure where I need to cut off the bottom so that it's in the right placement. I want my road to go over my frame. I don't want the frame to go over my road. So I'm going to mark my frame where the road comes up to it and then just clip out where I need to on the frame. I'll glue my road down and then I'll glue my frame down, trimming that frame where I need to if it's still a little bit too long. Okay, I've got my little car all cut out and put together, and that's going to look just great. I've used Henry's ABCs to cut out my letters. I've used peacock cardstock along with fake tan. I've lined them up on my glass surface using the grid lines to help me with the placement. I've taken some temporary tape and kind of put it across there to help me keep those all lined up. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back of those, and then I will flip them over and place them on my card and start peeling off that tape while holding them down. They still wiggle around a little bit. It's not a perfect system, but it's way better than if I were trying to eyeball them and keep them in line. This is just a system that works better for me. In with the desert canyon backdrop, there's some great little cactus and some little desert bushes that come. So I've cut out a number of those from some scrap green cardstock, and I'm going to soften up those edges with a little bit of forest moss distress oxide, or distress oxide ink. And then I'm going to just kind of place those in the little slits that the die creates. That's just perfect for helping you create the scene. That pretty much does it for this card. This is a pretty quick card to make. It's got a lot of impact, I think. Anyway, go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video. You can hit subscribe if you want to be notified of future videos. You can follow me on Instagram at Sandy Cogdell or on my blog, A Little Bit of Glitter. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a road trip scheduled for this summer. Bye-bye.